Hey everyone, my name is Neil and welcome back to another video on our Design With Me woodworking series, where we go through and we take common woodworking projects and show exactly how they're designed in Fusion 360 from A to Z. Today we're going to be looking at a bookcase that you can pick up at Target, and we're going to reverse engineer it, and then we're going to be making our own modifications so that it can fit our space. So if that's something that you're interested in, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this bookcase that we have today is a 3-shelf bookcase from Room Essentials that you can buy at Target, and it's $25. It's got the dimensions here for 35.98 in height, 24.49 in width, and 9.45 in depth. We're going to be changing that to be 10-inch in depth. We're going to do 30-inch width, and then we're going to do 48-inch height, because it's really cool that here they have the 3D model that you can take a look at. But one of the things I realized is that you can't make a change to it. So you're basically stuck with what they have. So as I mentioned in today's video, we're going to be modeling our own. We're going to take this and we're going to slightly change it to the dimensions I just mentioned. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, now that we have Fusion up, we're going to try to take as little bit of time as possible in order to make this, but we are going to go through every single click, and at the end, we're going to end up with a bookcase. So we're going to sketch, we're going to click create sketch, and we're going to sketch on the ZX plane. So we're going to click here, and we're going to do the first of our 4 shells and then our 1 top piece. So we're going to do a rectangular feature. So we're going to do center rectangle. We're going to click at the origin, and we're just going to sketch and drop. So one of the reasons I do that, and you can type in tab and go ahead and enter the dimensions directly, but I'm old school. So I just click sketch dimension here, and we're going to assume that each panel is 0.75 inches or 3/4 thick. Okay, and then we're going to click here. We're going to zoom out, and we're going to say, we said that we want our width to be 30 inches, but we need to take into account that here we're going to have our left panel, which is also going to be 3/4 inch. And on the right side, we're going to have that right panel, which is also 3/4 inch. So if we want an overall width of 30, then we need to do 30 minus both our panels of 3/4 inch. So it needs to be 30 minus 1.5. And that'll give us 28.5. So once we add on our panels, we'll get that width of 30. So we have our sketch here. It's fully defined. We've locked it in at the origin. We have defined the width, and we've defined the thickness. So that's turned all of the lines to be black, which means it's fully constrained. We're just going to clean this up. Got to stay clean. So then we're going to finish that sketch. And as you can see, that's there. And it's at our ZX plane, which is where we sketched originally. So now it's time to give this some volume, some geometry. So we're going to click on extrude. And here it's asking which way we want to extrude. We're going to do a symmetry, just in case we want to mirror later on. Whatever needs to be done, we'll be able to take advantage of that. So we're going to do a symmetry, and the distance we're going to do on that symmetry is 5. So it's going to go 5 from this sketch here on our plane to this plane here is 5, and then from this plane here to this plane here is 5. And we said that we want our depth to be 10. So now when we click on this edge, you can see here that the length is 10 inches. So that's exactly what we wanted. Okay, so we can do a rectangular pattern. We could have done that in the sketch. It's up to us. So basically, I'm just going to go back into the sketch and do it. So if we go here, right click, and then we edit sketch, right? I was just going to show you the other way to do it, but this way is just easier. So now we're going to do a rectangular pattern. So we're going to click rectangular pattern. And then we're going to select an object. We can click on each of these lines individually, or we can just come out here, hold the left mouse button, and drag over, which will enclose everything that was in that window, gets enclosed in our profile. So 12 features selected. And now it's asking for a direction. we're going to go up this way and we're going to give it a height as well as a quantity. So if you remember from the photo, there was a 1-inch difference from the shelf to the ground there. If we can go back. So right here, it's every software is different when it comes to rotating. So here, as you can see, there's a 1-inch height between here and the shelf. So we're going to replicate that. So here, instead of having it be a full 40, we're going to have 47 inches from here up there. But we also need to take into account the fact that we already have the 3/4 of an inch of plywood there. So instead of doing 47, it's actually going to be 47 minus 3/4 of an inch. So the height is going to be 46.25. So now there, from this bottom edge to this top edge is 46.25, and we need 5 quantity instead. So shelf 1, shelf 2. So shelf 1, shelf 2, shelf 3, shelf 4, and top piece. We're going to click OK. So 46.25 and then a quantity of 5. Okay, so now we have all of the shelves that we need. And then here under our feature for profiles, we're just going to select all of those. So now we have all 5 profiles selected. We're going to click OK. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was going to show you the other way where you just create one and then you could do a rectangular pattern for the body, but instead we did a rectangular pattern for the sketch. So now that that's done, we have everything we need, and we are going to create our left and right panels with that 1 inch off the ground. So we're going to take advantage of existing geometry. We're going to create the sketch on this face. The face is also a plane, so the two work basically the same. So here, instead of a center rectangle, we're going to do a 2-point rectangle, and we're just going to sketch randomly in space, and then we will use our sketch dimension to define it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75. Okay, so now that we've done that, we just need to do a coincidence mate for the top. So basically we want to say this point will go to this point. So we're going to do this point and this point. Okay, so now it turned black there, so we know that that part is fully constrained. So the good thing about doing the coincidence is, again, we don't have to do any dimensions. We just tell it, hey, go from this point to this point, and we want you to be touching and adjacent. Okay, now the bottom. So on the bottom, we're not going to do a coincidence mate with this point to that point, because again, we have that 1 inch off of the ground. So we're going to click that point and this point, and we're going to say we want you to be 1 inch. All right, perfect. So 1 inch from here to here. And again, we're just using existing geometry. So if we were to try to sketch the left edge, you could see that's 48, which is exactly what we want it to be, the entire height of our bookcase. And so in order to get these other shelves, we just did one rectangle. So in order to get our right panel, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to use the left panel in order to do that. So we're going to go to Create, Mirror, and we're going to say we want this profile to be mirrored about the Z axis, which if you click on that as the mirror line, you can click Z, and you could click right here. You could see right here, this is where the Z axis is. So we're going to say, hey, we want this profile to mirror around this Z. Okay, so we're going to grab that. Actually, it did more than we wanted. So we're just going to say, hey, we want this profile right here minus this. Okay. And then we are going to, as you can see right there, it already gets mirrored around. Same thing, we don't really need that. Okay, so we want that to be mirrored. And then now we can click OK. And then if we rotate, you could see it's grabbed both. And then now we should be able to do an extrude in order to get our side panels. So for profile, we're going to click there and say we want that selected. And then we're going to click there and say we want that selected. Okay, so now that we have those both selected, we need to give it a distance. Now we do two things. We know that the depth of our bookcase is 10 inches. We can type in 10 for the distance, or we could change the extent type and take advantage of existing geometry. In 3D modeling, you usually want to take advantage of existing geometry when you can because it's easier to make updates in the future. If we change the depth of this to 15 instead of 10, then we have to go into our first extrude and change that to 15, and then go into our second extrude and change that to 15. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you have 20, 30, 40 extrudes, it can become a big deal. So we're going to change the accept type to object. And for us, our object is just going to be the other side. So here's our sketch, and we want it to extrude to this distance. Okay, so now we're taking advantage of this face for existing geometry, and everything should line up. We're going to say the operation is join, and then we went from having 5 or 6 different bodies just to having one. And now when we rotate, you could see we have our bookcase. And let's just verify that we have the dimensions we want. So if we click here, we wanted 30 inches in width. We wanted 48 inches in height. So if we click here, yep, it's 40 inches in height. And we wanted 10 inches for the depth. And here we have 10 inches for the depth. So I would say that we're pretty lucky and we got everything right on the first go. And now, unlike what we had here, right, we have a custom bookcase, and we can do the back panel if we want. That's just another feature. Basically, it's just another rectangle that you would put in, and we can leave it like this. I prefer not to have a back for some bookcases that I've made because it's just easier, where you don't have to worry about routing on edge. It's just a little bit cleaner profile. Okay, so one more thing we want to do is we want to give this an appearance. So we want to give it the appearance of cherry. So we've already verified that our bookcase is done, and we just need to give it a new appearance. So we're going to press A, and then here we're going to type in wood, or you can type in cherry. Let me move this box. Okay, so here you can see we have cherry, we have mahogany, we have bamboo light. So we can do different options. So we can drag bamboo over there, and we can see that. I like that. We can grab cherry, we can drag it there. I don't know, I'm feeling the bamboo light. So that is how you 3D model and change the appearance for a bookcase. So basically, you could see all a bookcase is rectangles in this instance. And really, we only took the time to draw 2, and we just took advantage of our 2 rectangles that we drew and sketched in order to make the entire bookcase. And like I said, the reason why we did it that way is because if we ever want to change something, it should update automatically. So I'm going to go out on a whim really quickly here, and I'm going to change this. If I can, I'm going to change sketch 1. We're going to move it over ever so slightly and see if that makes a difference. Let me zero out of that. Okay, so for sketch 1, instead of doing 28.5, let's change the whole thing and make it 50 inches in width and see if that updates our entire model. And it does. Again, that's the benefit of 3D model. That's the benefit of 3D modeling. That's the benefit of parametric modeling, is one change can control your entire model. And same thing, if we wanted to change our depth of the bookcase, instead of doing 5 and doing 10, which would make it 20, you can see right there, in a matter of a couple clicks, because of the way the model was set up and having the forethought of thinking about the changes you want to make ahead of time, you can easily make those changes on the fly. And there's infinite amount of possibilities and changes that we can make. Or if we want to walk it back, I can just Control Z and get rid of that, and then get rid of all of the changes that we made. And now we're back to our original. So this is probably the biggest benefit of 3D modeling, is being able to make all these changes on the fly. All right, so I'm Neil. This has been another video where we go through in the Design With Me series and we make common woodworking products. Let me know down in the comments if there's something else you would like me to make. I'm fairly confident that we can get it done. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one.